Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tosh Berman, and we're here to discuss Jeff Devine, 70s surf photographs. I know when you look at me, you probably think, who is this surfer guy, Tosh Berman? Obviously, I'm a man of the beach, of the wave, knew various gadgets in my life, and pretty much know the surfboard, top and bottom of a surfboard. But in truth, I know nothing about surfing. I rarely ever go to the beach. In fact, I hate the beach. I hate the sunshine. I hate tans. And I'm pretty much a stay-home person who reads a lot of books and listens to music. So, why am I looking at this book by Jeff Devine, 70s Surf Photographs? Well, I'm one of those people who stay home and is fascinated by subcultures of all sorts. And surfing subculture is a though very foreign to me, still a very, very fascinating subculture. I've been reading a lot about surfing books. I've been reading a lot about surfing, studying surfing, watching surfing movies, and even the beach, Frank Avalon, Gidget movies. I've been dwelling into that world as well. In fact, I just recently read Gidget, which is a book about a woman, a little girl, a teenager by the name of Gidget, who hung out with the surfers in Southern California. And not a bad book, written by Gidget's father. Yeah! As told through Gidget, which is a little bit strange when you read it, but that's okay. The other book I've read is the book called Barbarian Days, A Surfing Life by William Finnegan. Beat up copy, bought it used. And Finnegan is a staff writer for the New Yorker magazine. And he's also a surfer, a serious surfer. And this book is basically a memoir, but focusing on his passion and interest in surfing and traveling to various beaches throughout the world. And which we come to now to Jeff Devine, 70s surf photographs. Now, the Devine is, I believe still is, the photo editor for the Surfer magazine and Surfer Journal for at least the last 35 years. And Surfer magazine is a very prominent institution of sorts, of a publication, a monthly publication that is focused on surfing, on the surfing culture. And Devine is a photographer. He's documented the surfing world ever since the 1960s. But this particular collection is just focusing on 1970s surf culture and surfers. And it's an interesting time period for surfing, due that at this time, the surfing world is getting more commercial. There's more contests, competition, brand names on surfboards, as well as brand names on surfers of sorts. And that whole world was turning from anti-establishment to a very established world. Certain surfers, specifically from the late 60s and early 70s, such as Mickey Dora, was considered like the outlaw surfer, loathed, hated, with great violence, how the surfing world was changing from non-commercial to a commercial world. And one of the things interesting about the surfers, or the original surfer, in a way, is sort of like the samurai or the lone cowboy. With the cowboy and his horse, the samurai was his sword, a surfer was his surfboard. Sort of the same thing, actually. So the original concept of a surfer is never thinking of competition or who's a better surfer. It's really just a focus about the wave, how big the wave is, how good their surfboard is, how they can manipulate the surfboard to ride on that wave. And it's all about that moment when you find that wave and you ride on that wave. And that is it. They don't care about girlfriends, boyfriends, job, school, education, world politics. It's a series of moments where they just focus on that wave and they just go for it. It's like a Zen-like moment. They don't call it Zen, but it's a very focused Zen type of moment. And Mickey Dora, who is not only a skilled surfer, but almost a surfer philosopher of sorts, though he did some writing, but basically it's his whole life that he led that is almost like a philosophy in action. And a true surfer, if I could say a true surfer, is a type of personality that is really not with the group or the crowd, but more this focus on the solitary, zoned out world of the ocean, the wave, the beach shore. And that is basically it. It's nothing else involved. There's a social life of sorts. Of course, there's a whole sort of like a beach community. But really, the focus is, again, a solitary mission, solitary action, where you're this one person with the wave. And surfers of the classic sort were totally anti big business, anti-social life where people from other communities come to the beach. A classic surfer does not like strangers on a beach, people they don't know. And usually the insult to these people is, go back to the valley. I would take that insult personally because I didn't live in the valley, but I went to school in the valley, and I would, if I saw a surfer, I probably would go the other way. But nevertheless, the surfer has a strong sense of what a property is, what the beach is, and they don't like it to be over commercialized. They don't want to be media attention of that sort. So in the very beginning, like Mickey Dora's time and other surfers, it was just basically the beach and the waves. But then pop culture came in, specifically the movie and book Gidget, which popularized the entire surfing culture. And then, of course, there's surf music, such as Jen and Dean, Beach Boys, Challengers, Dick Dale, Onward and Onward. Also popularized the surfing world. Surfers did not like that world. They didn't specifically like that attention. They don't like any attention, really. They just want to be on the beach and surf. And Jeff Devine's book, The 70s Surf Photographs, is an interesting book because at one level you got these beautiful photographs, mostly in color, some in black and white, of surfers doing what they do best, surfing. And it's a beautiful view of surfing. But on the other hand, you also see a lot of surfers hanging out on the beach, hanging out in their home, hanging out with their surfboard. And you can see the slow change from the 60s into the 70s, how the culture itself is changing. There's definitely narcotics involved in the 70s, more drugs being influenced or touched on in that culture. This gentleman is a drug dealer. This is hash. And here I presume a surfer smoking a joint with a crab claw holding the joint. A very surfer boho type. Very interesting. And also you see more professional surfers. They become professional, where they're participating in surf contests of all sorts, and I presume you get prize money or a trophy, and almost becoming a professional surfing world. And most surfers hate that, the true surfer. I mentioned earlier William Finnegan. William Finnegan wrote a really nice essay, introduction to this book. And what's interesting about it is that he sort of knew these people. He lived with these people, and he knows the subject matter really well. Not surfing and surfers, but he knew the actual Pacific surfers in this book. And there are certain characters in the book who are very troubled people or became very troubled people, either due not to their lifestyle, but they had a sort of solitary, antisocial, schizophrenic, maybe an autistic situation in their lives where all they want to do is really just focus on the wave. But real life comes in. Well, it's all real life, but outside life, let's say, comes in. And these people were heavily affected by that, including the introduction of narcotics in that world. And So the book is very bittersweet and sad in parts. But it's also, Jeff Devine is not putting any judgment in his photographs. He's just sort of documenting that era, that time, the moment, the now of the surfer. And it's a fascinating book. It's published by a publisher called T. Adler Books. And T. Adler Books are from Santa Barbara. They do beautifully designed photo books, but most of the subject matter, if not all, is on surfing, like surfing culture, old surfing photographs, and vintage surf photography. Well, if you're a surfer, for sure you will enjoy and want this book. But if you're interested in looking at another culture like I am, it's a totally fascinating adventure, interesting journey to take. Jeff Devine, 70s surf photographs, T. Adler Press. And if you want to read text or a book about it, I definitely recommend Barbarian Days. Excellent book about surfing and surfers and the surfer's mentality. And this is Tosh Berman. Have a good time. Thank you.